Now we're going to hear from James Shepherd, who is a senior researcher in remote sensing at Manaaki Whenua.
Hello everyone. My project's a little bit different. We actually completed this in the last financial year. The whole idea of this was to give some rapid assessment of land damage due to Cyclone Gabrielle using our Sentinel archive. So we routinely collect Sentinel satellite imagery, we prepare it and mosaic it for various uses across New Zealand. We map the land cover database of New Zealand. We mapped the Kyoto land use map for MFE. So we were well placed to do this sort of work. Interestingly, this process, we were approached by MFE prior to this extreme weather funding becoming available and started engaging with them in a small contract, but this funding has enabled us to extend this analysis in ways that would not otherwise have been possible. So yeah, we work closely with MFE. They've been a key stakeholder, and other stakeholders have included MPI and Hawke's Bay Regional Council. The idea of this slide is to show you how much of a difference there was pre and post Cyclone Gabrielle. On the left-hand two panels is before the event, and on the right-hand two panels is after the event. I'm trying to squeeze quite a lot into one slide here, but every one of those little cyan worms that you see there on the right, which hopefully you can see is a landslide. We're looking in colour infrared here, which sort of shows the difference between vegetated and non-vegetated very well. Interestingly, in the top two panels, that's actually an exotic forestry area, and this is sort of unusual. We weren't expecting to see this level of damage inside pine forest. And the bottom panel, that's more of a more expected area, that's Lake Tutera. However, right of Lake Tutera there, you can see damage in younger pine and through the pastoral areas, which was probably more expected. You can even see the amount of sediment. That's what's brightening the lake. That cyan color is the sediment that's populated the lake. So what we prepared, what we went through was we looked at the 10-meter satellite imagery. We prepared mosaics as near to the event pre and post as we could that were cloud free, and then we applied a spectral thresholding process to classify new bare ground pixels that had significantly brightened. We have done this sort of analysis before, and in 2004 in Manawatu there was a similar sort of event, and so we found this map on the left here very useful for people. And so what this is a density map of the amount of landsliding rather than the actual landslides. And so those dark red areas are areas where more than 10% of the area has been damaged. And so that was really useful to the districts along here to see where the damage areas were. Even we weren't expecting to see so much damage in that southern Hawke's Bay, northern Wairarapa area. But it was clear that the Hawke's Bay got hardest hit by this process, and that was useful. We were able to sort of delineate, based on those redder areas, 4 key damage zones to prepare statistics about what was happening. However, what we found is that in terms of investigating what sort of damage was on what sort of land covers, the land cover database was too old. The latest version is 2018, and this event, as you know, happened in 2023. So there's a lot of change went on there, but luckily this funding came through, and we were able, since we'd mapped the LCDB, we prepared an LCDB-like analysis to find all the forest change in that East Coast districts between 2018 and to just before the event. And we found nearly 2,500 sites of change and 64,000 hectares of either forests being removed or forests being regrown. The reason this is important is because we don't want to attribute landsliding to exotic forestry if the forests have already been harvested. So there were some really interesting results here, and I've crammed a lot into this. And there is a report. This work is complete, and we've provided data layers and the report to MFE. So there will be more data available. But some of the interesting findings here is the fact that exotic forestry has not performed as well as expected. we were expecting around a 90% reduction in landslide probability by woody vegetation. In those bottom two zones, this was pretty much what happened. Exotic protected 80% and indigenous protected 90%. However, in those northern zones, we didn't get nearly that quality of performance. It's a little bit, I don't know if I can't point to the graphics, I don't think, but the forest harvested was clearly the worst performing area, and then followed by normally exotic grassland. There's a slope graph there, which you can see in the bottom left, which shows the top two curves are pasture curves, and then the middle red curve is the performance of exotic forest. And we would have expected that to be closer to that indigenous forest curve at the bottom, which is, you can almost not see it there, is very low. So what we were finding in those areas is that exotic forestry, while providing some protective effect, actually had some issues in those, particularly in those northern zones. We've got possible causes for that. We sort of have postulated some work. This is a rapid overview, but it's possible this could be due to forestry management, such as non-thinning, possible multiple rotations of forestry, and possibly something like thin soils caused by a long erosion history in those areas. And we actually would like to recommend more detailed field investigations to determine what is happening in these areas where we're seeing performance similar to pasture from exotic forestry. Thanks very much.